Hey there, and I want to welcome you to another Rise of the 1% podcast episode where you're going to discover the tools and strategies and insights to dominate and get into the top 1% of your industry. I am G Bass. And on today's episode, I got a special friend in the building. I got a friend I've been knowing since high school in the building. And not only that, she's actually a mother. She's an entrepreneur, a business owner, doing some great things. She actually is the owner of Juice Hair Salon and Beauty, and also Mimo Juice Visions. Mm-hmm. And so today we're going to get into a conversation with a great friend of mine, none other than Johnnie Long. Definitely welcome, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Glad to have you on.
Pleasure. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yes.
So let's start here, Johnnie. Let's start off with you coming up, you growing up. So you from Decatur?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so let's run that back.
No, I'm not. I've been living in Atlanta now for, I want to say 25 years. Mm-hmm. Oh, no. It's actually going on 30 years. This year, 30 years. So, yeah, I'm from Decatur now.
Okay. Gotcha.
But originally, I was born in Waco, Texas.
Okay, Waco.
And then the rest of my family is from Louisiana, and Mississippi, and the rest of us up in Chicago. But most of my childhood was spent between, of course, Georgia, Louisiana, and Mississippi.
Wow, gotcha. Waco, Texas. Wow, that's new to me today.
I was born in Texas, though.
Okay, born in Texas. Talk a little bit about coming up in Decatur. Let's start off there then.
I mean, it was pretty cool for the most part. When we first moved to Georgia, though, we stayed in Stone Mountain, right off Memorial Drive.
Okay.
So I've seen Memorial Drive change so many times.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing they stayed consistent was the jail.
right. County Jail. Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I enjoyed it though because it's not too much of a difference from Louisiana at all, either or Mississippi. Like it was almost interesting how my life worked in that time because everything basically tied together in a way. You know, as far as where I was at, whether I was down in the country for the summertime or you know at home here in Decatur or whatever. But growing up, you know, as far as just my childhood, it was pretty cool. I mean, of course, we got our challenges, but as far as the atmosphere, it was cool. I enjoyed it.
Gotcha,
you taught me how to ride the bus. So.
Yeah, we're going to definitely get into that. So let's start here, Johnnie. So you went to Chapel Hill, though?
I went to Chapel Hill Elementary School.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, not Chapel Hill Elementary. I went to Chapel Hill Middle School.
Right.
Elementary, I went to Marbert Elementary. I was one of the first students to go to one of the first students to go to Marbert Elementary.
Okay.
Then I went to Chapel Hill Middle School, and from there, I was sent to Columbia High School.
Okay. Let's talk about that. Okay. Sent to Columbia High.
Yes.
What had you sent there?
So I was I don't want to say a wayward child. I want to just say that I was just opinionated, and I like to do what I wanted to do. And so I just always was into stuff. I mean, I actually started skipping school in middle school.
Yeah.
And, you know, just because, of course, then, like I said, as far as home situation was going, I just always was doing my own thing. And so from, of course, being in fights, just into everything. And really just as honestly now looking back at it as a kid, I really was just living my life, you know. Like I think sometimes we are
growing up,
sometimes we're cut short,
right.
Because everybody want to try to keep us in this box, but sometimes you do have to let kids explore. Because I don't regret any of it. Like I actually look back and laugh, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, you was crazy for that, but you know, it's still about balance in my life, and it's really just who I am.
Right.
But yeah, so I could not go to Southwest DeKalb High School. Long story short, I could not go to. We set the bathroom on fire in middle school.
Wow. Oh wow! Oh man!
Yes, we set the bathroom on fire. So the group of girls that I was with, they had to separate us.
Oh wow!
So they did that.
Yeah.
where none of us ended up at none of us ended up at the same school at all. One went to Cedar Grove, one went when MLK was built, one went there.
Yep.
And then one was able to go to Southwest DeKalb, and then I was at Columbia.
Gotcha. Wow. Johnnie was a troublesome child in the beginning. Oh, man.
I mean,
yeah.
I wanted to explore.
Yeah. I got you. So how was it for you? I mean, of course, I met you around the 9th grade at Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how was that for you in regards to, like, leaving a lot of the people you already knew, right, over at, like, Chapel Hill or going to Margaret to now you over at Columbia? That's, like, a different.
It was a different dynamic. I was actually used to switching schools because I think the first time I stayed at one school consecutively was middle school.
Okay.
No, actually, I take that back. It was Margaret, actually.
Okay.
So from kindergarten, pre-K, first grade, I always went to a new school the next year.
Gotcha.
And we didn't live in Georgia either, so I was always meeting new people or having to get reacclimated to a new school and new ways as well. So it wasn't too much, but at first I didn't like it because I didn't like it because I wanted to be with my people. I was just used to being there. But even when I did come to Columbia, I still knew people there from elementary. So Keith, I knew some people I already knew, so I felt a little better.
Gotcha.
But at times I did still feel out of place. I was like, all these folks been in school with each other since elementary, and to me that was odd because I didn't have the same friends from elementary. Some of the people that I knew like back in first grade, I can't remember their name or know where they at right now.
Wow.
So it was,
Yeah, that was different for me, because when I went to Columbia, a lot of people that went to Snapfinger with me pretty much came over to Columbia. So, I know how that can be. Yeah, that's why I was asking you, like, how was that for you, like, leaving all the people you kind of came up with to come over to Columbia? But you say you knew some of the people that came over, though.
Yep.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. What would you say in regards to Columbia High School, like, going to Columbia High, like let's talk about some experiences, going to Columbia High School, any memories you have.
Oh my
goodness. Some of the fun moments, wild moments, things you may have learned from Columbia.
I would say too, them moving me to another school didn't change nothing. It didn't change anything because I still was doing me. And like I said, I think because of life at that time, I really was just navigating life the best way I could. And I just, with high school too, I didn't care for school. I'm gonna be real with you. I just learned in a different way other than how they were wanted, or how, even now, just how sometimes how people want to teach a child or teach people. I feel as if it does need to be different outlets sometimes.
Okay.
Because for me, just sitting in a chair and having somebody talk at me and they don't already know that I'm already working, for one. I'm also helping pay bills.
What age you started working?
16.
16, okay. I was around 15.
Right. So I'm already working. I'm also helping to pay bills. So in a way, my mindset is not all the way of that of a child either. So I also didn't like being handled in a certain way either.
Gotcha.
So so it's like I was still a child, but then my ego was big and I was angry at life. So it was like, all those coming together, and that I really just want to come to school and be social. I don't want to deal with nothing else right now because literally sometimes I'm just getting off work. Because I worked overnight. I worked at IHOP on Panola Road.
Oh, wow.
And so sometimes literally I'm getting off work at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm coming to school. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's like, no, I don't want to come here and do this too.
Yeah.
I don't care about homework because half the stuff, I don't feel the stuff I'm going to ever use. I'm not going to be an architect. Why do you have me learning this?
Yeah.
You
know?
know?
I feel you on that.
So music, and of course I always loved and respected Mr. Khan.
Yep.
It was certain people literally in my life that because of who they were, and I'm grateful that they were in my life to still help me and navigate me and help me also be okay with who I am.
Right,
you know
right,
what I'm
right,
saying?
right.
So of course, Mr. Khan, and I always had a special love for music.
Yep.
So that was, you always saw me in band.
Yep,
Did you not?
So no, I always saw you in there.
Yeah,
so, yes,
I was
we
there.
were actually in the band together as well at Columbia High School, and yes, Mr. Khan was actually our band director.
Yes, I always was there. Like I'm still in a way that way too, where I'm gonna go where not to say where I want to go, but now it's more so of a good vibe, something that's gonna actually feed me and be a positive impact, and somewhere where I know I'm gonna thrive at. You know, nowhere that I'm just like, I just shouldn't be here. I'm out. You know, but it was just like that. Like, because, of course, you know how me and Mrs. I forgot what her name was, but we always butt heads. And it was just a certain way, because I also had other adults in my life where when we communicated, it wasn't a talk at you.
Gotcha.
You know, they still talk to you in a certain manner, in a certain way. And I didn't always get that either. So I would buck on them, because I'm like, who are you talking to like that? Like, I didn't talk to you like that. Why are you talking to me like that? So it you know, it's a part of learning life experience also on how to navigate with people too. Because I did still have to learn throughout time on how still to communicate with people that necessarily didn't know how to communicate the way I communicated. You know, so
absolutely. I'm gonna tell you this though, Johnnie is real smart though.
Even though I don't like school, I'm smart.
Yeah, she's real smart. Because I can tell you this, I wasn't the neatest in terms of handwriting. So Johnnie actually used to go back and help me with like rewriting my homework when we was in high school.
Yeah, especially science. I love science.
Yeah.
Science was it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we was in Miss Frost class, I remember, ninth grade. Right. So yeah, she's definitely real smart. Okay, gotcha. Well, let's talk about a little bit after high school. So talk a little bit about what happened after we graduated from high school, Johnnie. Like what were you doing then?
So I actually ended up getting suspended the last day of junior year of high school. Yeah, I swear, I'm a good person. And like you said, I'm real smart. I have a head on my shoulders. But I got suspended the last week of junior year, where my suspension actually was going to carry over into the first few weeks of school. And so my mom was like, yo, I'm tired of this. Let's check into something else. So she actually ended up having me go and take the GED test. And so I took it. I passed it on the first try. And so I actually ended up starting at Georgia Perimeter College in January of 2004.
Okay, gotcha.
So I was already out of school 2003.
Yeah.
2004, the year that we was like supposed to finish.
Right.
That's when I started college, actually.
You was already in college, okay.
I was already. That's why I actually ended up coming back and seeing y'all. They was like, where you at? I was like, I'm in college. But it didn't change nothing, because I still got to go to class. It's still doing almost the same things that I didn't like doing. But it was a little, the dynamic did change a little bit as far as what class looked like and how things were set up and how things were structured. So I was there for a good little minute.
Yeah.
And so, because I actually, and I know we're going to get into this probably a little later, but I actually had started hair long before that. I started doing hair as a child. Like, my friends would stay over and I would be doing their hair at sleepovers.
Gotcha.
But my parents, my mother really specifically wanted me to do other things, because she said it was too many stylists already in the family. Oh, wow. So, which I think, sometimes people just see or want a greater, or they just see more potential in you. So she wanted me to do other things, which was cool too, because I also work with kids. Yeah. So I actually went to school for occupational therapy. Gotcha. To work with special needs children. And so I, but of course you got to start with the regular subjects at first. Yeah. And so I was there for a minute. It was supposed to be 2 years. I was there for 3.
It's not a problem.
I was there for 3.
I was in college a little longer too than the 4 years.
But I'm gonna be real with you. I was thankful that I went to the junior college versus a large university. Yeah. Because that was way more money too, and I would have wasted way more money because I ended up switching over and doing billing and coding.
Okay.
And going a
Gotcha.
whole nother route because I
Yeah,
was
I'm
like, this
familiar with
just
that.
ain't for me. I'd rather do like another type of program.
Yeah. Let's rewind it real quick. Too. Getting suspended though. Let's speak on that. What had you get suspended the last day around 11th grade? Because I'm gonna tell you this, and I've never really shared this amongst people before. A lot of people, I should say. The last year of my 8th grade year at Columbia High School, because I actually went to Columbia in 8th grade, not 9th. We didn't go to middle school. Went straight from elementary to high school. And the last day of 8th grade, I got suspended at Columbia High School for actually getting in a fight. Right? Ended up not even taking my finals. My teachers ended up still passing me, and I went on to 9th grade. But what had you get suspended? Because I know we didn't really touch on that.
So what had happened was I had, so we had like a dress code. And so it's the last week or so I am pushing the buck a little bit. And I had on some shorts to that. That, to me, my mama bought them.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I felt like, and that was hanging out, but my shorts were short. They were short.
Okay.
And I shouldn't have had them on because, we got the fingertip rule, but my fingertips are down to my knees too. So
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it was really was the outfit as a whole. I walked into Miss Bucci's class. Okay.
Yeah. Miss Bucci.
Yeah, what's up, Miss Bucci? I still love you though, girl. I do. Yeah. I walked into Miss Bucci's class, and she said something about my shorts, and I said something slick back. And now looking back on it, she probably was just messing with me. But of course, my mindset then was not on that. And she hit me, and I hit her back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I hit her back.
Oh, man.
And that was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was it. And her and I had been butting heads so much. I think of all the teachers, her and I had the worst problems. And we should, and I'm so serious looking back on it, we shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But, when you're feeling yourself, things happen.
Yeah.
You know.
Gotcha.
But throughout the years, I've always seen there's always been love.
Yeah.
Always been love.
Yeah, I seen Miss Bucci actually go from substitute teacher to becoming a teacher. Some years ago, I actually spoke at a career day at Columbia, and she was the principal at the time. I was like, wow. Yeah, wow. Gotcha. Okay, so let's fast forward back to where you were. So medical billing and coding, let's pick up there because that's...
Yeah, so I went and I did that, finished the program, had a hard time finding a job. So then I got into bartending. So
yeah,
and I think that's just because I just started working at what was that? It was Applebee's. I started working at Applebee's as a server, then worked my way up to becoming a bartender. Fell in love with that. That's still something that I still absolutely love to do to this day.
Yeah.
And so I bartended probably about a smooth 15 years. And then
wow.
I got tired of the restaurant life too, because I was like, I just want more. After a while you just get tired of the same old thing. I want more. And that's when I got pregnant with my daughter too. So I was like, I really need to start doing something else. Then I went into working into an office. I worked in 2 offices. I worked one for a children's psychologist.
Okay.
And then I worked for a auto collision company called Auto Impact.
Okay.
As well, where I would help the bookkeeper. I was like her assistant.
Yeah.
And then from there I quit and got into hair. So.
Wow. Wow. So yeah, you went through many jobs.
Yeah.
Before you got into doing it.
Because I finally was just like, let me just do what I'm just naturally good at doing.
Right. And you had been doing since you was younger too. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. So with doing the hair, I mean, you started doing the hair at your house?
Yes and no. Okay. So I had a lady who'd been doing my hair for years, Maureen. And she kept telling me, like, why don't you, like, she's actually the one who motivated me to go ahead and quit my job and just go to school. She was like, because I caught her frustrated one morning. I was really calling her to do my hair.
Yeah.
But I also was frustrated because And don't get me wrong, when I worked at Auto Impact, it was a real cool, laid back job, but I was just really frustrated at the constant cycles I kept going through.
Yeah.
And where I didn't feel as if I was getting fulfilled in what I wanted in life. Like I was just over it.
Yeah.
And I was just done. And so she was on the phone with me. She was like, you sitting outside in front of that job not wanting to clock it because you don't want to do that. She was like, do what you want for yourself. Like, do that.
There you go.
She was like, quit and come be at the shop.
Okay.
And go to school. She was like, you could be at the shop for free as long as you're in school, you pass. She said, even after school, you got a spot here at the shop, and then we'll work into you going on and paying booth rent. And that's exactly what will happen.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so I gave her 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Hey, Tasha. Which Tasha done upgraded too, but anyway, because I'm my boss. But I put in my 2 weeks, and at the time I said this is gonna be literally that was the first job that didn't fire me.
Wow.
The first job that I fired and they didn't fire me. Very first job. And
I mean, it's meant for you.
Yeah, right. And it was that in itself was fulfilling. Because I was like, when I realized, I was like, dog, this is the first job that they didn't fire me. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
But I went through school.
Okay.
All the way through, got my license. I'm master in cosmetology, so I'm licensed to do hair, skin, and nails.
Okay.
And of course, barbering. And so from there, I did work in her shop.
So you cut hair too?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
I do cut hair.
That's good.
And so from there, COVID hit. And so I had kind of sort of wanted to start phasing out of the salon life because just it was another thing about the atmosphere where it still wasn't the type of atmosphere I wanted for my clients.
Okay.
Like, of course, I always appreciated her. I appreciated her having that opportunity open for me and all. And I always thank her all the time because if it wasn't for her, it's no telling where I would be because I still probably wouldn't have pulled the trigger for myself.
Right. Probably working the jobs.
Exactly. So I when COVID hit, I actually had found a suite at a flea market that was off of Memorial Drive.
Okay.
And that's when I went and started actually being completely in business for myself.
Okay.
That's when I found that suite inside the flea market, which they're closed now, but I can't even remember the name of the place.
Yeah.
But that's where I officially started Juiced Hair Salon and Beauty, which recently, actually within the past year, or it might be 2 years now, actually. It's actually 2 years. I rebranded where I'm only Mimo Visions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What made you do that?
Growth. And now the business does not look the same. And actually, my EIN number in my LLC has always been Mimo Visions. It has never said Juice.
Gotcha.
Ever. So I was like, why not make this match? And now my business and I've matured in the business enough to where it's a more mature name. Where I feel as if I'm being taken more seriously. Because Juice, I just was not being taken seriously. And so many, at least on paper.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So on paper, they was like, what are you really?
Yeah.
You a food company? I'm like, no, you know?
Yeah.
And literally it was,
exactly.
And it's really a term that I took from my clients saying I just got juiced up because everybody also called me juicy. So they was like, I just got juiced up. And I was like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
But at the same rate, when it comes to wanting a certain type of clientele too, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's just honest.
Yeah.
And they still say it. You can still say it. I still hashtag it.
Right.
But no, my business is Mimo Vision.
Yeah. For elevation, you had to do some rebranding.
Exactly.
Yeah. Gotcha. Talk a little bit about the hair salon business for anyone who may be tuned in to this in regards to what does it really take to actually get into starting your own hair salon business? Like, what's that process like? What are some of the challenges or pitfalls you may have had with it? Of course, some of the successes as well with it, and talk a little bit about that.
So one thing I have to say is you do have to work your plan backwards. And backwards meaning like, because I remember one time I had created like 3 different lists for myself.
Okay.
Because I'm one, because I'm also a female. We like to shop. You know, we go all in, and later we like, ooh, some of this stuff either got to go back or I didn't need this. You know how we do.
Exactly.
But you can't do that when it comes to business because you'll end up wasting a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that, really. Of course, you take risks, but you don't want to waste your money.
Right.
And so at one point in time, I made 3 different lists for myself. I made a list of what I wanted my business to be, what I wanted to look like, and everything I would need for it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Then I made a list of everything. It was a list of what I wanted to look like and what I overall wanted. Then I made a list of everything that I wanted, like for that, and then everything that I needed at that moment in time for where I was at in business.
Okay.
So basically like a big, small, a big, medium, and then a smaller list of what I need right now to at least get me to these next steps. Right?
Gotcha.
And so I was able to, find places to get the salon equipment that I needed, which coming into that, it makes you respect people that do already have certain things in place. Like that's why I do have a lot of respect for Maureen with having a storefront, because when people have large businesses or are on a different scale than you are, they make it look easy. It's not that simple.
Right. I already know.
And you do have to build up. And a lot of times, people say it all the time. We catch people when they're at their glory.
Right, exactly.
Or what we see their glory. We don't know the guts and the grit that it took to get to that point.
The story, exactly.
Exactly, or the story.
Yep.
Right. And so when I actually started on a small scale of what I needed, because of course at first I wanted 5 hair dryers. I want all these stations, but I'm in a suite. And actually, the suite's probably my first one was the size of this room, literally. It was a nice size. Yeah. And so it was like, okay, I just need what I know I need. Yeah. And that's it to start me off. Right. And so with time, it was getting the proper products, still having, you have to remain a student all the time. Always remain a student. Like, even though you grown, you got your knowledge, even that's going to change. Right. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So you always learn new ways. And so I did eventually build up to opening my first storefront as well. Yep. I did open up the storefront. And now the challenges that I had with them, and that was because the flea market that I was at closed. And so, and I had already been putting it out there. I was like, I'm about to do a storefront. Like, now I feel as if I'm ready. Yeah. Yes, but no. So, so one of the, I don't like to look at it as a pitfall. I still had to get a taste of the storefront to really see what I would want and would not want in the business as well. Okay. And so, storefronts are expensive. Okay. They're not your regular.
What's the range?
So I went from paying $500 a month at the flea market to $2,000 a month at the storefront. Gotcha. And that's also including me paying internet, because I needed internet. I had to have a security system, of course. I did have a young lady that was renting out a front area of my storefront because she did taxes, and she also had a good hair connect, or she also had bundles. Okay. And so it went hand in hand, which I met her at the flea market. Gotcha. And it did go hand in hand. Yep. And then I also had to get more stuff though too. So I also had to upgrade some stuff, and I had to get stations, and that's when I did expand. But the one thing I missed was making sure that I had the people to put into those places. Yeah. Like, I know my people are coming. Right. My people are definitely coming. But it's also getting the people that also I would want in those places, because no matter how much I wanted people in those places, I still wasn't going to put nobody in there because of the work I did put in to grow to get to this point. Yeah. I still just can't put anybody in here. I have to still trust you. I still have to make sure that, one, you are licensed, and it made me realize how many people are not licensed, but I don't judge them. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But when it came to working for me, I need you to be in this. Yeah, because you're coming under me as well. So you're still under my license. Right. So unless I know a person wanted to learn or was wanting to grow to a certain point, I would not allow them to come in there. to be honest. Because if you want to apprentice under me, that's fine because my license can hold that.
Right.
But if you're actually trying to do certain things like any type of chemical services and stuff, no, you can't come in here because you're under my business license.
Exactly.
So anything can happen.
Yep.
And so what happened as well with the storefront was I also didn't have the best landlord. And so a situation happened where the compressor in my ceiling was leaking. Well, not the compressor, but the air conditioner. The compressor was leaking, and it caused my ceiling to cave in.
Oh, wow.
And they wanted me to pay for it. Oh, and I was like, nah, we can't do this. And I was just like, well, and this is me because you never know until you ask and you get your no, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, can I take it out the rent? Like, how can we make this work? Because this is not a damage of my own.
All right, exactly.
And so long story short, it did not work out that way. And I did end up having to move. And so.
Where was this location at?
It was actually right down the street from the
flea market.
The flea market, still on Memorial Drive.
Yeah.
Right next door to the Walmart.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's on Memorial Drive. And actually,
Gotcha.
they just took my sign down. My sign was still up on the marquee until maybe, I think, say February of this year.
Oh, wow.
They just took it down.
Oh.
Because people would always call me, hey, where you located? I'm like, baby,
marketing.
I'm in Midtown now. You know, I have upgraded.
Yeah.
And that was a part of the reason why I left too, because I was also tired of the people that was bringing in. They didn't want to pay my price. They always want to negotiate. They was bringing in. And I'm like, no, y'all. Like, I like to really put my stamp and my name on stuff. Yeah. I don't want you coming in here and, I'm like, don't tell nobody I did your hair because I wouldn't use that kind of, like, and I'm not shady like that, but I do understand people have that budget. Yeah. But it's still a way to do it, right. And also understand that you don't need to cut me short, though.
All right. Exactly. It's business.
So exactly. So I did take that jump and move to Midtown, and that is honestly one step I've never regretted. Never. And that's why I don't feel as if the storefront was a pitfall, because it just made me realize too that me being on the scale of a suite was still cool. Yeah. Because I was really thriving. I was doing the best when I was in the suite. And so I'm still going to revisit the storefront, but it is going to look a lot different.
So tell me this, Johnnie, why was moving to Midtown, you would say, the best decision you made?
Because I looked at who I wanted to bring in, who I knew wouldn't mind paying what my price was. Because I don't feel as if I'm super expensive. But I do know that I put in a lot of time and effort. I'm always wanting to be better and grow. And certain people at times, they're not going to appreciate your value. Yeah. And you have to be in spaces where it does complement who you are and what you want. You do have to be in those spaces, especially when it comes to business. Yeah. All the time. Like, you can be in spaces and still share and uplift people as well, but that's just your place for that time. But if you want to grow, you do have to put yourself in spaces where you might be the smallest in the room.
Yep, absolutely.
To help you feel in those shoes that you want. Right. Yep. To help you feel in those shoes that you want to be in.
Absolutely.
And so I just saw better, wanted better. And honestly, I cannot remember how I really ended up how I found my space, but I do know I did some searching. And I knew I didn't want to be on the south side.
Right.
And the way my schedule is, I know I couldn't go too far north because I would never make it to my clients. Yeah. And so I was like, Midtown sounds like it's the move. Like, it sounds like it's the plan. Yeah. And so I do know how I ended up in Midtown. I do remember now. Okay. So one of my god sisters, she's a nail tech. Okay. And she had gotten a space. Well, her and her husband had gotten a space that was in Midtown. Gotcha. And so me driving down there, seeing the atmosphere and stuff like that, that is when I started looking. Gotcha. And I actually ended up in a space that was right down the street from them too. So, and like I said, it was a really good move. And even I'm still in Midtown. I'm in an awesome space now too, where when I say that man might have to put me out, y'all. And I told him, you gonna have to eventually just tell me, look, your time here we got to find something else for you.
Yeah, you love it that much.
I really do. Like I said, I'm all about a good atmosphere and what I can provide as far as the experience with me and my clients and the services that they're getting. That really does matter. Mm-hmm. Like it's all the elements of business matter when it comes to experiences with you and your client or whatever service you provide. And so, because everybody say when they come into my space, they feel like they're at home, they fall asleep, they get sleepy. I've had people ready to go to the club and they come in there and now they going to sleep. They're like, I'm about to go home. I'm like, no. That was a power nap, girl. You can still go out. Yeah. And I love that because that's what I want. I do still want to have the relaxed environment. Mm-hmm. We still sometimes we are turned up in there. We can be loud. At times, like it's not all chill, zen, kick back, but it's a healthy space. Too. Right. You know, it's still a very, very healthy space. It's not messy, and that's the main thing that I want is to always bring like better experiences to people because some people don't always get to experience that or know what that feels like. Right. That they're used to the messy salon life and stuff like that. And that's also not who I am. So I want that reflection of me to also be a part of my business. And when you come into my space, you know, you here to still have a good time. It's like I keep beer and wine. Yeah. I got snacks. Yeah. Like you come in, you can chill. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, I got the spirit. So I see. So, you know, it just matters. And I feel as if, too, that's a part of how I've grown so much, too, is because that's the type of experience I do provide. Right. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. And I always say this, too, even when it comes to my barber, for instance, who cuts my hair from time to time, I always tell him, like, the way that he cuts my hair is a total different than other barbers that have cut my hair in regards to the experience he gives. And what I mean by that is, for one, he takes his time with definitely cutting my hair when he cuts it. But not only that, you know, he does the towel on my head and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes on my face and stuff like that. Like he goes over and beyond different chemicals and stuff he puts in my. It's just way over and beyond than like, you know, other barbers that I went to and he just cut, get out. You know what I mean? And so with what you're doing, I mean, of course, you're a hair salon owner, so you're creating a whole experience in terms of the hair salon as a whole. But just in that space in general, though, experience is key, you know, to keep that repeat customers coming in, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Jamal, that's his name, by the way, who cuts my hair from time to time, he charges a lot more than the, you know, normal barber, but I continuously go to him because of the experience that he gives, you know what I mean? Right. And even shops that he's cut in, because he doesn't own his own shop, but shops that he has cut in when I've went in there at times, yeah, it's an experience. You know, you sit down, they'll bring you a drink while you're getting your hair cut. You know what I mean? And like you say, having snacks and stuff, that's huge. I love it. I'm going to have to come by your spot as well. Yeah, come on. Absolutely. Come on. Yeah, definitely. Great stuff. Okay. So let's go here pretty much, Johnnie. So for one, let's talk a little bit more about the services in regards to your hair salon and also some of your products, right? So you can talk a little bit about that. Okay, so service-wise, I do all hair types, and I will do chemical services as far as perms and relaxers. Mm-hmm. But I mostly have all natural clients. Majority of my clients do have locks and just natural hair, and I specialize in color as well. Gotcha. And so I love being the person that has debunked a lot of myths that hair color damages your hair. Like, I love that. Like, I really do take pride in that. With people who have been scared to color their hair and they come in and they see that, you know, your hair can still remain healthy, nice, strong, full, and all that great stuff. Along with me also growing your hair, you know, and I'm about the care and the health of your hair as well. And I do shampoo. So that's one thing, like you said, like your barber does the towel and everything. Everybody talks about my shampoo. Yeah. So, okay. But they're like, I'm not shampooing my hair till I come back to you. I'm like, girl, your appointment is 2 months from now. Please shampoo your hair. Please don't do me like that. Right. But I do appreciate the compliment. But I take pride in wanting to shampoo. I want to shampoo my clients' hair. I want to see what the scalp is doing, and also assist them with whatever they are doing at home. Because that is a lot of things too, is that people don't always know what to do at home, and or they don't have a stylist that helps them to reset the foundation to help them maintain at home.
Right.
You know, so I'm really big on shampoo. I don't mind shampoo. My prices do include the shampoo. Okay, it's no extra charge because
I love that.
That's how I grew up too.
Yeah,
it was no separate charge for shampooing. I'm not sure where that started at, but it doesn't matter.
Me either.
But to me, it's important to shampoo before a service.
Yeah.
Like, I'm definitely not going to do your hair if it's dirty. We're going to go to the shampoo bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going.
Great stuff. I love it.
And so, all services I do. The only thing I do not do is sister locks.
Okay.
I do still do micro locks.
What are sister locks? You got to educate me on that.
So sister locks they're extremely, extremely small locks.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, they do now have something that's in between small locks and sister locks, which they consider micro locks.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I do micro lock reties.
Okay.
I do those.
Gotcha.
But I don't do sister locks. That service in and of itself, I respect the sister lock. I don't want to necessarily call it a culture, but I just respect the ladies who do specialize in sister locks too. Okay. Because it is a whole thing. Sometimes to start them does sometimes take 2 days.
Yeah.
It's a certain technique that goes with them. Like, I respect them, and that's just something that for me takes way too long. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I do have clients with sister locks that come get their hair colored. They still come get like treatments, like steam treatments, and all that type of stuff. I just don't do the reties for them.
Gotcha.
But anything else under the sun, I do.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I love it. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, because I know my boy Bree say you been doing things with his hair.
Yep, I started his locks.
Yeah, he told me.
I sure did.
Yeah, he brags on your work too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we always have a good time because he's good too with conversation, because that's also what I love too. Is my clients that come in and feed my brain too.
Yeah.
So I love the balance that I get from everybody.
Yeah.
Because we can have ratchet talk. Some people don't put me on the ratchet TV shows. I'm cool with that too. When there are others, they come in, they feed me with business, and they keep that part of my brain fed
right.
too.
Absolutely.
So, I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
Great stuff. Talk a little bit about your products.
So my products, initially how I started my products was in hair school. We had to make a product as a project, but it also was a competition.
Okay.
And so I had made a body scrub that actually made first place. I won.
Oh, okay.
Actually, let me also brag on myself. All the competitions in school, I won. I did, y'all. I did. I won the hair show.
Okay.
But and people always felt as if I had a heads up on them because they realized how long I had already been doing hair because of some of the stuff I already knew.
Yeah.
But I still did need school to help me with some of the rights and wrongs and do's and don'ts and things of that nature. I never felt as if I didn't need the schooling to get my license. Like I realized how important it is. That's why I'm strong on it as far as who I work with and have come into my space without a license.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, I won the competition, and and it was a body scrub I made. And so I ended up, also my daughter, we had an issue at first with getting her hair to grow. And so from there, because I had some knowledge of herbs and stuff. And so then I formulated a hair oil for her that worked.
Okay.
So that was the second thing.
Yeah.
And then I had started going somewhere that made a body butter, and they went out of business. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. So
then I still created my own formula where I looked up other butters and stuff to incorporate with mine that was still good and healthy for people's skin.
Okay.
So that's also how I ended up with my whipped body butters. I still have my hair oil. And actually now I have two different kinds because the one that I created, initially I realized it was staining gray hair. So I ended up creating another one that's lighter.
Yeah.
All the same things, and it just has a lighter oil in it that doesn't stain gray hair.
Gotcha.
Which some people now have switched over to the lighter one just because they like it too.
Yeah.
And so I still have my oils, my body butters, and rose water as well because that's also good for your hair and your skin.
Yep.
And so now I also have a clay and turmeric mask. I have a detox tea as well because I've also got into a lot of herbalism. well, I have not a lot, but I've gotten into herbalism where I have last time I counted, I think I have like 50 herbs at home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I make my own teas and stuff, especially for like the different seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Now I still will go to the doctor, y'all. Okay, I don't cancel that out.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
we
yeah.
mix the East and the West over here when it comes to medication and medicinal purposes. Like, still go to the doctor, okay, but just to know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I am really, really big on the herbs and stuff,
Gotcha.
and how it does affect and help us as well.
Yeah.
So my butters, yeah, they still a hit. Where at one point I was like, I need help. Like, I need help. Like, somebody help me.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I say this as well as a takeaway, even for you all that are tuned into this podcast episode, is you can see it started off with your daughter in terms of having a problem growing the hair. So you created this hair oil, right? Which is solving a problem. That's what entrepreneurs and business owners do, right?
Yes.
You find a problem and you find a way to be able to solve it, and now you have a product, right, that you can offer to others, or what have you. So that's great. And then you went on to, you say, your
the body butters.
butters, right? Absolutely. Gotcha. Now you got all types of oils as well.
Yep, I have a whole line that I, especially recreating my brand and the labeling and everything, where I put the directions on there. Like, it's all been a process, and I've even taken stops sometimes and just been grateful for like how I've grown, and I always remaining fluid.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I always say you gonna have a plan, but you got to remain fluid because you don't know what life is gonna throw at
That's
you.
true. 100%.
So you still have to be like, okay, this is what was thrown at me. Do I need to readjust or just see this through? Like, how exactly can I continue to grow? Like, it's never a stopping point.
Absolutely.
Like, never feel as if you gotta stop.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
And perfect your stuff. Because like my butters at first, for real, my butters at first started off kind of greasy. And so that's why I ended up looking into other butters and other ways to mix in to make it not as greasy. So now, and my butter lasts like a good 2-3 months sometimes. I've had people say so.
That's great stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they smell wonderful. yeah, they smell good.
Check them out, definitely. Definitely. We're going to put a link as well to Johnny's website in the description of this podcast episode as well, so you can check her out in terms of her products. And you continuously innovating too, making a product better, right?
Yes.
That's a huge key. It's a huge key. Talk about this as well, Johnnie, for any moms that might be tuned in to this podcast episode. I mean, you're a hair salon owner, you got your products, right? And then you're a mother at the same time. How do you go about balancing all of this, or is there any balance at all?
Now, that's deep.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be real with you, with entrepreneurship, that has been one of the greatest challenges. Because initially she was young, so I'm like, she don't miss me. I could work all day. You know, she good. Or she could come when she was small enough where she could come with me. So a lot of people remember her when I was at the flea market. She would make a fort underneath a table, like my product table. Like, she would take my capes and cover up the table, and she'd be underneath the table. And sometimes people wouldn't even know she was underneath there.
Oh, wow.
But she under there, she got her toys.
Yeah.
She good. She had food. She's good underneath there. And sometimes she would pop out and scare people because, like I said, they didn't know she was underneath there.
Yeah.
And so when so I was okay with that because at least she's still with me.
Right.
So as time grew on and time progressed, she started saying, Mommy, I don't really want to be with you like that no more. And I felt that. You know, I really did respect it because she would miss out on some things sometimes that kids should really be doing. Yeah. You know, like at home playing or playing with their friends or being able to do other things.
Yeah.
So I respected that. So after a while, she wasn't with me as much. And I started feeling guilty, though.
Oh, wow.
It was my guilt.
Okay.
And so I was like, are you okay? Like, you know, like I always checking in with her. And she would always be like, no, Mommy, I'm fine. But one thing I did realize that I did do was communicate with her. I'm not just leaving her, you know what I'm saying, just gone for all these hours.
Yeah.
I'm explaining to her, hey, you have this because this is what I'm doing.
There you go.
Or you see this, or I'm still showing her pictures of my work.
Yeah.
Or I would call her and be like, hey, I'm at work. Still explaining to her what's going on. And still giving her the option to come with me if she wants to.
Gotcha.
Which I got her back for a little minute, but then I started having her like do my towels and stuff. She's like, nah, I ain't come here for that. Because she's straightforward. I love it. And so Now I can't get her in the shop unless she's getting her hair done. That's the only time you will see. She's like, I'm not coming to work.
Right.
Because, I did grow up on the own your keep.
Yeah.
And she's not an own your keep child. She's like, I got these straight A's. That is my keep.
Yeah.
Which, again, I respect.
Right, doing
I
great
do.
in school. I love it.
So it's like, and my guilt did ride with me for a long time where I really had to take a step back and just have a self-talk and be like, but your intentions.
Yeah.
It's all about your intentions. Like, it's not saying that you're a bad mother because she still sees you going hard and working for everything that y'all have. And with time, I'll probably tell her the full story about everything about my life and everything. She'll understand more because she's 11 now. Yeah. So, so it's like, she will call me now, even though sometimes it's, Mommy, I want something. Yeah. But that's fine as long as she calls me. Because I tell her, call me, And we also exchange each other's location. So she knows where I'm at. She'll still check it because she did start getting worried sometimes because I will have late nights. Yeah. Like sometimes I'm not reaching home from the shop at like 2. I'm reaching home at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And so, like I said, I just had to have a self-talk about my intentions and just, just being real with myself. Like, no. You still doing everything. Like, what else could you do? Yeah. No, your daughter's not here, but you still, I started to make sure to carve out time to spend time with her. So it's like really creating a schedule to where, okay, I'm really am off these days. These are days that her and I going to do something because she also has her own activities. Yeah. Excuse me. So, these days is when I'm at home, she sees me, she's with me. Yeah. And or I make sure that some days be off to where I can take her to practice because I do have a support team that's able to take her to practices and stuff too. Yeah. If I have to work. Gotcha. But it's only if I have to work. I'm not gonna automatically book over if I know I ain't brought her to practice in 2-3 weeks. Gotcha. I'm gonna go do it. Yeah. Still making sure that I still keep motherhood on the forefront and not get lost in business because that has happened. Where I just feel as if I gotta go. I can't leave them. And stuff still gonna come. Right. Exactly. And when you keep a schedule, you actually be shocked. Well, I was shocked to see how it still filled up because I actually kept my schedule. There you go. Schedule. Calendar. I talk about that all the time. I talk about that all the time to entrepreneurs and business owners that we even work with in business, to even Rise of 1% team members that might watch this as well. I talk about that schedule, that calendar. Yes, because when I enforce my calendar too, I stopped having such late nights. Because I really would be like, somebody come, hey, you want to come? Well, shoot, I'm here. So that's sometimes too how I end up in the shop. Yeah. And I would be in there literally. I remember one time I literally did work 24 hours. I was in the shop for 24 hours. Getting it in. And I'm not eating properly. Like, I was doing more damage than good, to be honest. And so, like I said, it's all in your intent of what you want to have happen for yourself. And it will still happen, but you still also have to treat yourself good and nourish yourself too. Right, exactly. Entrepreneurship is not supposed to be abusive. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's not supposed to be abusive. Yes, it can be a challenge, but you got to have the proper things in place to continue to make sure that your machine is well oiled so that you can, still push forward and balance. Because I'm now too, like today I'm off. Which, if anybody had scheduled, I wouldn't have been off. But if you don't schedule by Thursday, you're not going to catch me on the weekends because I still like my weekends. Because I still want a weekend every now and then. It's it's still, I realize how much in control I can be. But it's also still the discipline of knowing when you don't need to have too much play. Yeah. You still got to have some work to make sure that you grow and move forward. But you still got to have some type of enjoyment, some type of time for you to recharge yourself. Absolutely. Because that was also part of the motherhood part is that sometimes I would feel guilty when I'm like, girl, I need me time. Like, you get your time. I need my time. Yeah. And so I would feel guilty sometimes and not take time still for myself to have that moment of solitude or just to be in my own space and not hear or see or nothing. Right. Because you need that time to recharge and just to think sometimes too. Yeah. And so, just doing away with the guilt. Absolutely. Because there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're doing everything in balance. There you go. Because I definitely had to balance that. I did. Gotcha. That's why I said that was a challenge for me because I started feeling bad. I was like, maybe I need a job because I can't be a mother. I'm like, what? Like, she's here. Yeah. You're a mom regardless. And me asking her and talking to her, and she's like, no, Mom, I'm good. Like, I understand. And she's telling me because you told me, you showed me. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So let me, on my end, do my part. Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Great advice. Great advice. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Johnny, a few more things.
Mm-hmm.
Your name changed. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
And what happened there. And we haven't had a discussion about this.
We have not.
You know, I'm used to calling you the niece.
Yes.
Because that's what I called you and we called you in high school.
Yes.
Right. So, you know, and then of course Johnnie. So look, talk a little bit about that.
So yeah, I'll start there too. So my family calls me the niece, which is the end of my first name and end of my middle name put together. It's actually a family tradition. A lot of our names in our family are made off of two names put together. Okay. And my mother did name me Johnnie at birth, but I also felt as if it was too grown of a name to call a baby, which I agree. You call a 2-month-old Johnnie for. And so I wasn't used to it. And when kids, kids found out, that my name was Johnnie, I got teased. So I remember it was a good high school friend of mine, Adesela. She just started calling me Johnnie. She was like, "Girl, I don't care, I like it." And she actually made it grow on me too. Yeah. Where I would always get up in the front of class and be like, "Hey, don't call me this." But in college, I also couldn't do that. So that's also when I just started letting people call me Johnnie. And people are like, "No, I like it." Yeah. And I do too. Yeah. And so fast forward through the years, I grew up Christian. Yeah, I did. Okay. And so throughout the years, I also started, just doing different studies and looking into different things. So I started practicing a Yoruba tradition, a spiritual tradition as well. We don't like to call it religion because it's not as a spiritual practice. Gotcha. And so even with that, it still requires growth. Okay. And so I got initiated as a spiritual priest. Wow. And so I am initiated to one of the deities as his name is Ogun. Okay. So, and it's interesting because Ogun, his energy is a worker. He's a healer. Okay. I'm talking about relentless worker. And that's a lot of attributes that I do have, which I already had, but prior to this, it just was already a part of me. Yeah. A lot of things, are already a part of you, regardless. Yeah. And so, so when you start into the tradition initially, they do give you another name. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. But then when I became a priest, I got another name and a title. And then after that, I also got a chiefessy title. So my full name is Oloye Alaka Ibimo, which that's the chiefessy title. Okay. That's the chief of protocol. Gotcha. Iyalorisha Ogunlaniyan, which that's my priest name, which I'm a priest of Ogun. Okay. And then Motun Rayo was my initial name that I got in when I came in. And then the last name is El. Which L is actually it's a Moorish name than the Yoruba tradition, because the people who I study under is actually a part of all types of schools. So I already had some knowledge of like Islam and stuff like that because my uncle is Muslim. Yeah. But coming into there, like the way they had us study and really tap into different parts of just our culture. Yeah. Because, people always want to say that we don't have no culture, and we really do. Yeah. We are multifaceted in what our culture is. And so I think that's why the concept is missed that we do have culture, and there's so many different parts of us that we got to continue to learn and tap into. And I'm so thankful that I met the people that I did again along the way that have exposed me to so much. And also it's helped me to understand who I am as a person. Yeah. Because, we do get lost in whatever society, whoever society is supposed to be. Right. Because you were told one thing, this is who you are, but that's not necessarily who you are. That's not always your makeup. So, and I think that's why, a lot of people end up in a fight or flight situation with growing and being okay with who they are, is because they don't really listen to themselves. You can always have faith, because I don't knock anybody with what you believe in, because honestly, God is God in all aspects. Right. Like, I still believe in God. Like that doesn't change anything. And even with our spiritual practice, we still believe in God. Name might be different, of course, which that's in the Bible. Right. But it's always tapping in and being okay and trusting and really turning inward in yourself, which entrepreneurship does do. Because I can honestly say with my spirituality, that is what has grown me the most in being a good entrepreneur and a person.
Wow.
Seriously, and a person.
Yeah.
Just how I navigate, deal with people. Because I have been short fused with people. I still can be short fused with people. But
we both been.
Yeah, but it's fine tuning it because you still need that balance.
Right, exactly.
Because in entrepreneurship, you have people that will get over on you. When you gotta switch up, you're like, nah, we not doing that. That's not what I said. That's not what we're doing.
Exactly.
Because it's what you built and it's the boundary that boundary is used so much, but it's still it's the boundary that is set that's necessary.
Right.
Not only for you, but for your business, because it's the structure, like you said, a schedule. It's making sure you have a whole skeletal makeup to uphold you. Like you need your skeleton to uphold your body.
Right.
You got to have a skeletal foundation to uphold what you've built too.
Right.
You know, and
exactly.
and it's all types of stuff that comes into play. Like you don't just have a bone in your arm; you got a whole entire makeup of a skeletal, frame.
Exactly.
And so, I've definitely been grateful for the growth and me being in that space of my spiritual practice too, because it's also who I've always felt myself to be. Like I come in the room and I light up the room. I've always been one that I know that I can provide all types of healing and necessary things for people. And I touch on people all day, every day. All day, every day. Where I know I don't have no enemies, which honestly, I just say if somebody doesn't like me, it's just something they don't like in themselves. And that doesn't mean that they're my enemy. I'm not going to make them my enemy.
Right.
Like ever.
Right.
Like, no, I don't have no enemies. Like I'm all about showing love and, like I said, good vibes, because a lot of people don't experience that. Yeah. So people can be uncomfortable sometimes when somebody has a big energy, a bright energy, or they come with a lot of energy because it's just something they're not used to. And it's okay. You still got to show them like, hey, we ain't got to be like that.
Right.
Like, sis, you ain't got to be mad at her. You can still congratulate her.
Exactly.
You still got everybody has their place in life. And a lot of times people get mad or they get hung up on, oh, well, I didn't, because I'll use myself in as an example. When I got initiated as a priest, a lot of people were upset. Like I did lose a lot of friends, which with elevation, you will.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Because some people, you got to let them go.
Yeah.
But some people were really upset just because it wasn't them. And it's like, it's either not your time or it's not meant for you.
Right.
But that does not mean you are still not important to what you can contribute to life, or you as a person can contribute to yourself, to your family, to whoever else you come in contact with.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't take away from that.
Right.
And so it's still being that example too.
Yeah. For sure. So Johnnie, that's a fascinating spiritual journey you went on. Mm-hmm. And also, thanks for the explanation of the name change. I definitely was real curious about that. I saw it on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm definitely curious about that. So, I didn't know you went on to become like a spiritual priest.
Yes.
So, that's huge. And I can hear the growth in you as well.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
I love it. Absolutely. For sure. So, really pretty much, Johnnie, is there anything that we didn't cover in this conversation that you would want to speak on before we get ready to close out in a second?
I don't think so. I think we did touch on basically everything, unless you wanted me to elaborate on something, boy. I got you. But
you good. Well, this one I would ask you this, Johnnie. So, of course, the name of this podcast, The Rise of the 1% Podcast. Mm-hmm. When you you hear people talk about the 99%, 1%, whatever that may be. You don't necessarily all the time have to be about wealth and money. But when you hear that, what do you think? What does the 1% mean to you?
So, yes, besides wealth and money, the 1% to me is still being the person that is able to not only be accountable for themselves, but just have that different way of being that's not like everybody else. Because it's interesting, because I did recently go see the Sinners movie.
I've been hearing about it.
And so it's the one great takeaway I did see is the vampire part, how everybody's getting bit. Because some people just wanted eternal life, or they just wanted what they had, or they telling it's good, and so they getting bit. You know what I'm saying? So they really ended up becoming part of the 99.
Oh, wow.
Versus
Wow.
the 1% that stayed in the house. And actually the one that really made it, Simi.
Yeah.
The one who really made it, because he really did stay true to himself the whole entire time.
Yeah.
His daddy kept saying, put down the guitar, don't do this, don't do that, but he stayed true to who he was. And also was accountable every time he needed to be accountable, you know, and really just stayed fast in who he was, and still was a great person all around. And he was a part of that 1% that still made it. Where even the vampires ended up coming back and still respecting him. No matter the promise that he made to his brother, they still respected him and still didn't bother him.
Wow.
You know, so it's still being a part of that 1%, like I said, that is respectful. They still respect people. They're not nasty. They don't operate off of ego. It's so much more that goes into becoming the 1%.
There you go.
You know,
Absolutely.
and it's not just about being unemployable, you know, but it's like I said, it's still about, you know, just being the change that you really want to be in the world, and still being the opposite of what might have hurt you and not hurting other people.
Yeah.
And doing away with the healing and growing and all that type of stuff, becoming anew, because you constantly have to change.
Yeah.
You do. You constantly have to change. You got to keep going, because change is actually good. Some people, like I said, you can come upon a swift change and it might jerk you a little bit, but it's a good change.
There you go.
You know?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the 1% is important to me. I always say I'm a part of the 1%.
There you go.
Because some people, I'm telling you, I've made people mad because they tried to say something about me, and I'm like, yeah, I know that about myself. Yeah. And I apologize if that offends you. I'm working on that.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And it does sometimes make people feel better because they don't, like I said, they don't experience that. But at the same rate, then some people don't like it because they try to have a one-up on me. You know, like they mad at me. But like I said, it's just them. Yeah. You know, still having compassion, understanding that everybody's going to be different. They're going to communicate different. Everybody is different.
Right.
Like nobody has the same expectations as you would have for someone, because we can sometimes get frustrated at other people because it's the same expectation we would have for ourselves.
Right.
But that don't mean they could operate like that. You know, just allowing people to be who they are.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Okay. There you have it. So, Johnnie, if you could just tell our viewers where they actually can find you, and any information you just want to share in regards to, even if they want information on your hair salon, or like I say, even your products, but we'll have a lot of information in the description too. Okay. But you can share it as well.
Okay. So you all can find me in Midtown. My suite is located off of Piedmont and Cheshire Bridge, right over by Grindhouse Killer Burgers. I mean, it's a nice exclusive in the cut type of place. Like you wouldn't miss it. Like you can't just ride by and find me. And that's another thing that I love.
Yep.
Also, I prefer you all find me on Instagram and my website. Okay. Facebook is more personal. Yeah. So that's an upgrade if you have my Facebook. Okay. Yeah. But my Instagram is Mimo Visions. Oh, which I will break down my name of Mimo Visions too in between time. Go ahead. Mimo means sacred. Okay. In Yoruba. Okay. And so it is always, whatever thought I've had about my business too, it has come to fruition. Like when it comes to what I wanted my storefront to look like, it's still one more step that I haven't gotten to, but I'm telling you, I'm still gonna get there. Yeah. But it's all about, if your mind can create it and has thought of it, right, you have the ability to physically create it and make it come to pass.
There you go. Absolutely.
And so when I found out about the word Mimo in Yoruba, that's why I added it onto my business, because even when it comes down to my creations of like my hairstyles and how I color, because I don't have a traditional type of color style either. Like I will put 5 colors in your head and some people love it. And and you can still walk into a corporate office with that. I have a lot of clients that have color that can still be on a professional level. Okay. You know, so that's why it's like I still, like I said, I still made hair my own. Yeah. You know, so that's where the Mimo Visions came from. And that's also too, like I said, when I stepped into a higher part of myself, I was like, yeah, I got to upgrade from juice. Yeah. You know. Yeah. So Mimo is spelled M as in man, IMO, and then Visions with an S, LLC _ on IG. So that's MIMO VISIONS LLC _ on Instagram. My website is Mimo Juiced because I couldn't get rid of it.
Yeah.
Visions.com.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Yep. Mimo Juiced with a D, visions.com.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, I got to get used to your newer name, Johnnie. So what I would end off this podcast with saying, Fernando, definitely appreciate you,
Yes.
Johnnie, for coming on to this podcast. You all hear from Johnnie Long. Of course, she's as well revised the name, but you all definitely heard from him. It was a great conversation.
Yes.
Got a lot out of it. I'm pretty sure those that actually is well tuned in got a lot out of this as well. And being you did, right? Mm-hmm. Make sure, of course, you're on YouTube watching this in terms of video. Make sure you bang the like button. Being you got a lot out of this, I'm pretty sure you did. As well, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. Turn on your notification bell for more great episodes like this. And also in the comment section, I love to hear your biggest takeaways, right? Pretty sure Johnnie would too. Mm-hmm. Your biggest takeaways, what you got out of this podcast episode. You dropped a lot of gems on this episode. So any of your biggest takeaways, or if you have any questions, drop them in the comments section. And as well, for you all that like to listen to audio or listen to empowering things as you ride in the car, we are on Apple and Spotify as well. The Rise of the 1%, you can look us up. And besides that, once again, Johnnie, thank you for coming on.
Yes, sis, I appreciate you having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, for sure. With that said, we'll see you all in the next episode. Have a great one on purpose.